why the polls still show so much support for, you know.
Well, first of all, you're reading old newspapers, and they weren't very accurate when they were published, and they sure as hell aren't accurate now. What's going on in the polls is that in a poll you have to have a certain number of Democrats and a certain number of Republicans in your sample. You may have 1,000 people you're interviewing, and the exit polls in 2020 said that 31% of the voters were Democrats and 30% were Republicans. So what's happening now is that these polling firms are coming in with polls that have 10, 15 points more Democrats than Republicans. And garbage in, they get garbage out. And they say Trump is winning by only 1 point or 2 points, which is better than they used to say, which is that he's losing. But it's completely biased. And the reason they do it is to sell newspapers, to try to keep the Biden campaign alive and get TV ratings and all of that. But don't believe it. We are winning, and we are winning big. I'm afraid it's going to be Joe Biden. And that's not because they want him. He asked who the Democratic nominee for president would be. And I said, I'm afraid it's going to be Joe Biden, because they can't get rid of him. Unless he's willing to quit. They're stuck. Because the only way to remove him would be the 25th Amendment, if he won't go voluntarily. And that requires 2/3 of each House of Congress, and requires a majority of Biden's cabinet, his own guys that he appointed. And the Democrats are very stubborn, they're very stuck in their ways, and they're not going to go with that.
And they're going to have Camacho will not let him leave. It's his wife who made the decision. She made the decision 3.5 years ago.
Or Hunter. Who says, on your way out of the office, sign my pardon.
The wife made the decision. She knew he was demented and had cognitive problems 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
She's the one now that's going to make.
But he answered all the questions.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did you
Oh,
see that?
he answered all the questions.
His debate performance. Jill said, but he answered all the questions. But he didn't say what
is it government by
He answered all the
bureaucracy now?
questions.
Is it government by bureaucracy now? Because we don't have a commander-in-chief.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's teaching the bureaucrats love it. I like to call it the government by the deep state. Yeah.
Who's the leader now making the decisions?
I believe that the ultimate leader is Barack Obama.
I agree.
He got elected to a third term, and he's thoroughly
I think he's smart enough to understand that he had dementia, whatever, before he was manipulative during the 8 years he was there, and he knew that was going to continue on. So he's smart enough.
Well, his quote was great. He said, anybody who thinks Biden will do well doesn't know how good he is at screwing things up. No.
What is all this in the news? Of course, we can't trust the fake news, but what is it about Hillary making a comeback?
Well, she'd love to, and the minute Biden stubs his toe, she's there volunteering. But I don't think Biden's gone anywhere. And the reality is, having won all of the delegates, you cannot get rid of Joe Biden.
I understand, but what about the vice president slide? Can we get rid of that slide?
No, you can't get rid of Kamala because the blacks won't let you do it. And Biden would lose all the black support he's got if he dumps Kamala Harris. So these are all, you ever see the movie Ben-Hur?
Yes.
Remember the scene when they're all tied to their oars?
Yeah.
They're shackled to their oars, and if the boat sinks, they drown. Well, welcome to the Democratic Party. Yes.
Susan Rice has been in charge of making illegal voting scenario. So, what's your opinion on that? Are they going to get?
Well, we've enacted some very important reforms in some very important states. The two big swing states that decided the election were Arizona. The states that decided the election were, after all, Arizona and Georgia. and both of them have passed absolutely perfect laws requiring voter ID, photo ID, verification of signatures, no absentee ballots that don't have social security numbers on them, and all kinds of measures that we wrote, the Republicans wrote, and they passed. And so I think that with that, it's going to be very hard for them to cheat. You can always cheat 1 or 2 points, but you can't cheat 10 or 20.
Amen.
Yep. What is going to happen, however, if he falls and hits his head, if his dementia continues to progress? I mean, we've seen it, you know, in the last 6 months, just
Well,
escalate.
you still could have the 25th Amendment if it's so obvious. But the Democrats will do everything they can to protect him because they're just afraid of getting rid of him.
But will they keep Kamala in?
Well, if he can't function at all, yeah. But you're talking about a decreasing window of time. Yeah. Yes.
They can never admit that he has a dementia because they've lied for such a long period
Yeah.
of time.
I was just being interviewed today by a reporter from your CBS affiliate here.
NBC.
What?
NBC.
NBC. And I said Biden's dementia will increase. It's a progressive disease
Correct.
that largely affects progressives. And they said there's no clinical evidence of dementia. And I said, you believe it? And I said, if he walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and acts like a duck, he's a duck. And remember that the Democrats basically are saying now, among themselves, forget about the White House. Keep Congress. Struggle for Congress.
In other words, they think it's going to move.
What?
I would say this is a physician who's diagnosed dementia, made those diagnoses over and over. I've told you in private, he had signs of this back 3.5 years ago. For anybody, any physician who is honest, looking at how he walks, lack of arm swinging, his stiffness, his inability, memory, and the like. The cognitive testing, there's 3 or 4 different tests. Cognitive testing is done by listening and watching somebody. And the diagnosis is made by me 3.5 years as a retired neurosurgeon, 3.5 years ago. So anybody that says that that's not the case, they don't know what they're talking about.
Good. Yep.
What is
Yeah.
the,
Yes.
what is the most interesting thing or thing that made you smile when you talk with President Trump?
Well, it's easy to make Donald Trump smile. You just tell him we're winning. But I will tell you a story. He called me from the car when he was on his way to Miami to get booked and fingerprinted and photographed. And he said, "How am I doing?" And I said, "You're up 10 points. You should get indicted more often."
That's funny. Thanks.
What is the likelihood of Kamala Harris pushing Biden down the steps?
Or up the steps.
You're assuming that when he falls, he gets hit in a place that makes it worse.
He might get better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys. This was fun. God bless you.